After the victory against the New Orleans Saints, the Detroit Lions have now advanced to 9-3 on the year, their best record since 1962. However, though, the victory against the Saints is giving more questions than it is providing answers or solutions. We're going to talk about it in this episode today, so stay tuned, folks.
We used to be a team no one respected. We used to be a team no one feared. That was then. This is now.
First victory of the year on the line. Goff's got it. Back, looks, throws, end zone. Yes! Caught!
You know who we are.
10, 5, end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions!
And you know where to find us. We won't be far. We'll be on your front porch waiting for you. We are the New Era Lions. And
we are driven by Detroit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in right now. But before we dive in, I just want to say to everybody coming back to the show, thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for your view, your support, and your patronage. Thank you all for everything you do. It absolutely means the world to me. And to those that are tuning into my show for the very first time, thank you all for giving my show a shot. Thank you all for deciding to tune in. It absolutely means the world to me as well. And hopefully, you guys enjoy the content, and hopefully I'll gain your subscription as well if I've earned and deserved it. And to everybody, I just want to say God bless. Hope you all enjoy the content, and let's get into it. So, this episode's going to be a little bit weird for me, because we have to keep this in a very, very good perspective of what we're talking about and how we're talking about it, so that way people don't misunderstand where I'm coming from here. Because let's understand something here. I am happy that the Lions are 9-3, because at 9-3, like I said, this is the best record the Lions have had since 1962. That was when my grandpa was still a young man. Like, that's how far back that goes. But we have to understand something here. Not only are the Lions 9-3, and I'm happy for that, but I'm also happy for the fact that the Lions won against the New Orleans Saints. Because it's like, listen, we went down to a place that's known to be a very raucous place. It's known to be very difficult to play in, and we won. I'm glad for that too. I'm glad when we win. But we have to understand something here. When we started this season, and for those that were with me back when DLF was still running, and for those that have now come with me to MCM, you all will know when I say this that it's the truth. When this season started, my expectation has continued to be that the Lions win the division and win a playoff game. That has always been my expectation, because I was like, listen, the Lions have the best chance to win the division this year. They also have a good chance to win a playoff game. That has always been my expectation. Not a Super Bowl run, not a Super Bowl win, a playoff win and a division crown. That has always been my expectation. And that expectation comes from the fact that both Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have been like, listen, we're here to win. We are going to build a winner. And they built a winner in the sense of the regular season. Because here's the thing. When I think winner, I think of a team that can win both in the regular season and also in the postseason. And yes, the Lions are 9-3. They are clearly a winning program right now. They have had their second straight winning season. They've matched their win total from last year at 9 wins. But let's understand something here. While I'm happy that we're 9-3, while I'm happy that we won, to say that I am happy with how we got the win or how that game panned out that got us to that win would be a lie. Because I'm not. Because we have to understand something here. While we're 9-3 right now in the regular season, and while we have a regular season winning record right now, if what happened against the New Orleans Saints happens in the playoffs, I'm going to be very hard-pressed to think of how we can win a game. Because we have to understand something here. The way that game panned out was not at all. I'm telling you this right now. If any Lions fan were to tell me the opposite, I'd call him a liar. There is no way in hell anybody could have told me that that's the way that game was going to end. That was the way that game was going to end after how it started. And we have to understand even furthermore, from before the game even started, before kickoff even happened. Understand, the Lions were 4-point favorites according to Vegas. But also, if you go to ESPN Analytics, we were given a 65% win probability. So we were pretty very favored to win that game against the Saints. But yet, here's the thing about this that bugs me. And I'm not trying to sound spoiled. I'm not trying to sound nitpicky. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful. But we have to understand something here. while I'm happy that we won, the fact of the matter is during that game, the same problems, the same issues, the same malfunctions, if you will, as this team has been having over the last couple of weeks, has continued to unfold and rear its ugly head. And I'm sorry, whether you call it a malfunction, a problem, a miscue, I don't even care if you want to call it a damn error code 404. The point of the matter is we can't continue to have this happen if we want to get into the playoffs and win in the playoffs. Because I guarantee you this, everybody wants the division crown. But I guarantee you this, ain't nobody going to want to hear the same things that we heard freaking last year for the Minnesota Vikings about being a fake 13-4 team. We want to actually get to the playoffs, win the division crown, and actually win a damn playoff game. Something we haven't done in 30 plus years. But I'm telling you this right now, despite the fact that we won, if what happened in that game happens in the playoffs, we're probably not going to pull out that victory, because when you get to the playoffs, you're playing the best of the best because they're the ones that made the cut. You can't do that against those types of teams, and that's what we're talking about in this game. So let's think about this. Let's actually take a look at this, because let's understand something here. Let's start back at the very beginning of the game, which, if you're going to start somewhere, that's usually a pretty good place to start, in my opinion. But think about this. My paper's giving me a little bit of a fit here. If you go back to the start of that game, the Lions get the ball to start the game, which is an unusual oddity for us, because 9 times out of 10 we usually defer and we kick the ball off to start with the ball in the second half. But for whatever reason, we get the ball to start the game. The offense of the Lions goes down the field, scores relatively easy. Then the defense comes out. It gets an interception very close to the end zone of the freaking Saints. So we get set up in a good spot. Lions offense goes out, scores again pretty quickly. We're now out 14-0. Then the defense comes out again, gets a quick 3-and-out, gives the ball back to the Lions. The Lions in 3 plays score, and now we're up 21-0. And that's within 7 minutes of the first quarter being played, because there was still 8 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock. That's a rarity for a Lions team. It's so rare that it's the first time that the Lions have done that since 2011. Think about that. We haven't done that in over a decade. That right there shows that for the first half of the first quarter, this Lions team was firing on all cylinders. Like, imagine a supercharged muscle car and it's just revving its engines and it's going to town. That was what our team was like for the first half of the first quarter. We were just in perfect synchronization. Offense was doing its job. Defense was doing its job. It was beautiful. And it was so beautiful. Think about this. Jared Goff in the first 7 minutes of the game was 4 of 5, 80% completion rate, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, with a perfect passer rating. I'm a Goff fan. I love Jared Goff. I think he's a great quarterback. But here's the thing. I'm telling you this right now. Jared Goff has only had a 158.3 passer rating one time in his entire NFL career. The fact that for literally the first half of the first quarter, Jared Goff was looking like he could potentially pull something like that off, I was like, okay, here, something interesting is about to happen. And something interesting did happen, but not at all the way I thought it was going to happen, and certainly not the way that the rest of the Lions fans watching that game thought it was going to happen. Because think about this. For all of the perfectness, that's not even a word, for all the perfection that we saw for the first half of that first quarter, in the first 7 minutes, everything thereafter just almost completely fell apart. Damn near everything after that nearly fell apart. Because think about this. For the rest of the game, the Lions only were able to manage to score one more touchdown, and that was in the fourth quarter on Jamo's 19-yard end around. Otherwise, we were held to either no points or field goals. We scored 2 more field goals, if I recall correctly, and a touchdown where we failed on the 2-point conversion, if I recall correctly. So there's that. But then, let's go to the defense. The defense surrendered 4 touchdowns to a Saints offense that has been terrible in the red zone on 4 red zone trips. You want to know how bad that Saints offense was before this game in the red zone? I already talked about it before in a previous episode. I'll put that episode back up at the top if you want to reference it to know that I'm telling the truth, but I'm just going to put it out there. They were ranked 29th in red zone offense, only converting on touchdowns in the red zone 42.5% of the time. Now, granted, our red zone defense is not that good either. It's actually ranked 30th. We're giving up points in the red zone like at a clip of like 67, 68%. But I thought, surely, because of how bad this Saints offense has been in the red zone, we'll get some stops. Because think about it. The week prior to this one, the Saints were not able to put the ball into the end zone against the Falcons defense one time. I watched that whole game, Saints versus the Falcons. The Saints could not put the ball in the end zone one time against the Falcons defense. But yet they did it to us not once, not twice, not even 3 times, 4 times. That's bad. But then it gets even worse for the defense. Think about this, folks. The one area about the defense that has been absolutely great this year has been the rush defense. Think about it. The first 5 games of the year, we didn't surrender 100 yards to a single team. And that was against some really good teams on running the ball, like the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons that I just mentioned. But think about this. For 3 straight games now, the Lions defense has given up 100 yards rushing against the Bears, one of the best rush teams in the NFL, the Packers, and now the freaking Saints. And the Saints were ranked 20th in rushing offense coming into this game, where the freaking Lions defense was ranked 5th against the rush. But now, for 3 straight games, we've given up over 100 yards on the ground. For a Lions defense that's ranked 5th in rush defense, that's, again, a problem. Because, again, this Saints offense, I said before, and I'll say it again, is dysfunctional as hell. Yet, for a good majority of that game, we actually made the Saints offense look kind of functional. We made that Saints offense look like, hey, it was starting to pick it up. It was actually starting to do its job. And this is why I'm also going to continue on this little thought process. Because some people are going to say, again, now that we're about 10, 11 minutes into this, oh, but David, we won the game. Shouldn't we be happy that we won? Yes, we should be happy that we won. But again, we could have won that game much more convincingly. Like I said, we were out to a 21-0 lead with still 8 minutes and 15 seconds, 8 minutes and 15 seconds left in the first quarter. The first quarter wasn't even halfway done. We were already up 3 scores. We should have blown the roof off of the Superdome. We should have made that freaking place so quiet, a graveyard would have been much more likely to hear noise in. That's my whole point. We left so much on that field from that game, and that's a problem. We should have literally stepped on the Saints' neck and broke it. But instead, we stepped off the gas, we started misfiring, and the Saints got back into the game. By the time the game was over, it was actually looking like it was a competitive game that we were about to lose. And the only reason we didn't lose the game, which then leads me into this part, I'm going to be flat out honest, and this is the part that kind of scares me. If Derek Carr does not get injured after that hit by Bruce Irvin, and I'm going to say this right now, I hope Derek Carr is okay. But I'm talking about this from a realistic, logical, reasonable perspective. If Derek Carr does not get injured on that hit by Bruce Irvin, I don't think we win that game. You want to know why? Because after Carr left the game with the injury, in comes famous Jameis Winston, Mr. 30 for 30 in 1 year in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. He was so bad in relief that he only completed 2 out of 6 passes, and one of those passes he completed was on a tip drill that Brian Branch tipped in the air, and somehow magically it got into the hands of Chris Olave. Other than that, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. So think about that. If Derek Carr doesn't get injured, we're either looking at a much closer win than what we won by the 5 points that we did, or we're losing that game. Because Carr was actually starting to really get that offense up and running, up in a rhythm, and firing on its cylinders. And up until that point, we were not stopping their offense with Taysom Hill, Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr, and Chris Olave. When Carr left the game, they pretty much lost their ability to throw the football, which then meant they had to run the ball, which meant they became a one-dimensional offense. Thank God they decided to go more with Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams rather than Taysom Hill, because that was also proving to be a problem. But that's the Saints side of things, as far as for the defense. Now let's talk about the Lions side of things for the offense. Again, like I said earlier, after that 21-point, quick blitzkrieg, if you will, where we put up all those points really quickly, we didn't score another touchdown until the fourth quarter on an end-around run by Jameson Williams. And that was for a 19-yard rush. But think about this, folks. Frank Ragnow got injured today with a hit to the back of the calf. Here's why this is also a problem for me, at least going forward in the future. I don't know if Frank Ragnow is going to be able to play against the Bears next week, but think about this one. This one's going to really make you upset. When freaking Frank Ragnow was in the game, we ran the ball 22 times for 113 yards for 5.1 an average a rush. Frank Ragnow got injured in the third quarter with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left to play. You want to know how many yards running the ball after Frank Ragnow got injured we had? 29 yards rushing. And I just said that was after, and that was with Jameson Williams' run for 19 yards. So think about this for a minute, folks. Really think about this one. 29 total yards rushing after Frank Ragnow got injured. 19 of those 29 came off of a freaking end-around run by a wide receiver. That then means that out of that remaining freaking yardage, so the remaining 10 yards, that literally came from our running backs. That means for the remainder of the game, until the game was over, after Ragnow got injured, we got 10 yards of rushing production from our running backs. And to put this into further perspective, without Ragnow on the field, we ran the ball 8 times for 29 yards for 3.6 an average. If you take off Jameson Williams' 1 rush and then go for 7 rushes for 10 yards, you're almost talking about almost a 1 yard per average rush. That is very, very concerning. Because think about this. When Jonah Jackson wasn't playing, we had to rely on Swordstall and Awasaka. Our interior offensive line could not give Jared Goff almost any time to throw the ball. And again, when Frank Ragnow left the game, not only could we not run the ball worth a damn, the interior line protection was also having problems because we had to shift Glasgow over to center, and we had to bring in Swordstall yet again. And Swordstall, again, was having problems with interior pass protection. So again, it's a problem. That's why I'm telling you, this is a huge problem, because it tells me this. We cannot afford to lose anybody on the interior of the offensive line, because when we do, we start having problems in run protection and in pass protection. Now, I'm just going to say this. Let's consider the fact that, yes, the defense did get 2 turnovers. That was crucial to us winning this game, because the Lions offense took those 2 turnovers and got points. But I'm just going to say this right now. Those two turnovers might as well have been gift wrapped and sent, because that was pretty much the easiest turnovers the Lions have ever gotten the whole year. The first turnover off the interception went right through the wide receiver's hand, and pretty much all Brian Branch had to do was reach out and catch it. Now, granted, that was a great catch by one hand, but all he had to do was be in the right spot, which is exactly what he did. Not taking anything away from Brian Branch, but that's an easy interception. That's an easy turnover. And then the freaking botch snap, all freaking the Lions had to do was just fall on it. They didn't even have to do anything. It was a botch snap and, oh, here's the ball. I'm going to just fall right on it. There you go. Those were gift-wrapped turnovers, which, again, not taking those away from the Lions' defense. But let's be fair and honest here. It wasn't because of some great scheme. It wasn't because the Lions' defense just outperformed the freaking Saints' offense. We just got lucky. And again, sometimes that's just how the ball rolls. That's just sometimes how the ball bounces. But again, those turnovers, while they were crucial to us winning, they were kind of gift wrapped. They were kind of given to us. And then let's think about this. While that part, I'm going to give a little bit of, whatever for the defense, I'm also going to say this. The Lions defense got that crucial stop on 4th and whatever it was, 4th and 6 with that bad throw by Jameis Winston to Chris Olave at the end of the game. But again, we have to be fair here. If Derek Carr is in the game, that pass probably gets completed. Or the other pass that freaking Jameis Winston threw behind Chris Olave earlier in that very same drive. My whole point is this. Like I was saying, the Lions, without Derek Carr in that game, we do not win. Because Derek Carr was doing his job. He was actually getting the Saints up and down the field. That's why I'm saying there's still more problems with this defense than the offense. But the offense has its problems too. But I will say this. The one thing that the offense did do very well at the end of the game was that, listen, you have to think about this. While the Lions offense kind of went MIA for the second and third quarter, they did get a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And then again, after the defense got the stop on 4th and 6, they were able to extend a drive twice on 2 very crucial third down conversions on 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8 from Jared Goff stepping up in the pocket, evading pressure, throwing straight into the teeth of the defense, and getting those conversions. So, here's what I got to say about all this. Why are the Lions found wanting? Why is there something missing? We have to go back to the main culprit, in my opinion, for why this game wound up being why it did. Coaching adjustments. There were no coaching adjustments from virtually either Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn. Because after that first half of that first quarter, everything started falling apart. And the reason why was because the Saints freaking defensive and offensive coordinator, they made adjustments. We did not. Neither one of them made proper adjustments. And this leads to nearly every single issue that I talked about up until this point. Poor coverage on the defense. Poor tackling by the defense. Again, like I highlighted in that previous episode I talked about, we have one of the highest missed tackle amounts in the entirety of the NFL on defense. So again, that's Aaron Glenn not making adjustments. But then, take a look at the offense. Poor blocking and poor freaking play calling also screwed us in. And those are also, again, on the defense as well. But think about it. Ben Johnson getting way too cute or way too conservative with certain plays. Not calling plays right for for pass blocking or run blocking situations, especially after Frank Ragnow left the game. And then Poor utilization of players. This one's primarily more on the offense than the defense, but think about it, folks. We've got both Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams on the offense, and it felt like for the last part of the game, we were barely seeing them on the field. Why? Use them. They're weapons. When they're in the game, they make a difference, but yet we hardly saw them by the time the game was almost over, and that's when we should have seen more of them. So again, I'm just sitting back and I'm like, why are we not using these guys? Why are we putting David Montgomery more in and we're not using Jahmyr Gibbs? He's got speed that can go on for days, but yet we're not using him. We're using David Montgomery to try and run outside. Why not use Gibbs and his speed? That to me just made no sense. Again, poor utilization of players, poor coaching adjustments, poor just coaching job all around. But I will say this, to kind of end this on a happy note before I go off, before I end this whole thing. The Lions, and us as well, need to be happy for these players, because without these players, we don't win. And there's 4 of them. We don't win this game without Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta, as I'm going to talk in another episode, he freaking is, in my opinion, one of the best tight ends in the NFL already. And this game was kind of like his stamp of approval. You go out, you have 9 receptions on 9 targets for almost 150 yards, 140 to be specific, and 1 touchdown. You're doing something right. And he's only a rookie, folks. So Lions fans and us need to be thankful for him. Number 2, Jared Goff. You can say what you want, Goff haters, but let's be fair and honest. We don't win that game without Jared Goff. Those 2 conversions at the very end of the game, his 2 touchdowns, his ability to keep the offense at least somewhat manageable, without him, we do not win. Then, Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams' ability to get that end-around touchdown in the 4th quarter allowed us to keep the game within a manageable ability for us to win it and where we didn't have to force crap. And then finally, Riley Patterson, somebody that's not getting a whole lot of conversation, but his 2 field goals, again, we don't win without those. So for me, what I'm getting at here is this. With all these problems that we're still having with coaches not making adjustments, poor utilization of players, poor play calling, poor tackling, poor coverage, whatever you want to call it, this team has got to find a way to get better, or we are going to have problems with these upcoming December games that we've got, because we've got 2 games against the Vikings, we've got a game against the Broncos, we've got a game against the Cowboys, and we've got an upcoming game where we have to go to the Chicago Bears in the freaking winter. Something that is not something that our Lions do very well, is play in the cold. So for me, it's like, listen, we need to shape up, and we need to shape up fast, because now we're getting to the point where the schedule's getting a lot tougher. We're going up against teams that are all in the playoff race, except for the Bears. The Vikings are 6-6. They're in a wild card playoff race. The Broncos are 6-6. They're in a playoff race. Oh, so are the Cowboys. They're fighting for the number 1 division. They're fighting for the number 1 seed. These are all teams that are looking to win, and they're all teams that are going to put their best foot forward. And if we put the foot forward that we did today against the Saints, we're not winning many of them. We might win 2, maybe 3 more. And I'm not saying that to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just looking at the reality of the situation. But my whole point is this. The coaching has got to be better. In-game coaching decisions have got to be better so that way the players can perform better. Because what I'm seeing ain't going to cut the mustard. But anyway, I figured I'd talk about this. I don't know what reception it's going to get, but I'm pretty sure somebody's going to tell me that I'm just being a Debbie Downer, but c'est la vie. With that having been said, I just want to say thank you all for watching in another episode of Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I want to highly encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and you got to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so, first and foremost, want to highly encourage y'all to please subscribe. It helps me out, and I'm ever so thankful for every subscription that I get. But I also want to encourage y'all, please, after you subscribe to the channel, make sure you also turn on that bell notification icon as well, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, subscription numbers are always going up, but we want to make sure that we turn on the notification icon, so that way as soon as I push something out, you're right on it, you can get in, you can watch it, we can start having conversations about the Lions and football in general. I also encourage y'all to also share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody you can. That way we can get more people in, we can get more subscriptions, we can continue to grow the channel, and we can continue to have great conversations about football. And with that being said, folks, I just want to say thank you all for your time, thank you all for your view, your support, and patronage. Hopefully I gained your subscription if I hadn't done so already, and if I still haven't gained it, hopefully I'll gain it on the next time you tune in, which will be soon enough. But with that having been said, I just want to say to everybody, God bless. Again, thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your review. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.